This is Dana Morrison from IT Path, the IT Path podcast. I am so glad that you are here. We want to help you claim your journey into IT. We want to help you unlock what is keeping you locked up. We want to break down the barriers, the walls. We want to get you going and keep you going on your IT journey, on your IT path. There are many of you, and I know this because we put a survey out. There are many of you who think that you might have a chance to get into IT, but there's some things in your mind that says, oh, I'm too old. I won't be good enough. Maybe there's imposter syndrome. I don't know what it's going to be like. I'm just not a risk taker. Let's just unravel some of those things. We're going to focus on one of those things today, and we're going to dive in starting right now. I will tell you, this episode is going to be a little deeper. It's not just me telling a story about how I got to where I'm at today, although there'll probably be some stories in here along the way. This episode is more geared toward action. How do you get started? Where do you go? How do you take that first step? How do you get unlocked? How do you get moving? Where do you find your passion? What's your mission in life? And let's work from there. Let's work from that standpoint. So grab a notepad if you can, and we're going to go. We're just going to dive right in. So I'm going to ask you a question. And here's a little explanation. We put out a survey, and on the survey we had a lot of different things that people could select for answers. We had a lot of different questions on there, and I'm just going to dive into one of them real quick. What is basically why, I guess this is the question. Why do you want to get into IT? And this is what people said. They said, 1, I feel like I'm missing out on my calling. 2, I feel like I'm missing out on better income. 3, I want to work from home and have more freedom. 4, people tell me I might be good at IT. I think I might like it, basically. We're going to connect the dots with number 1 and number 4 on this, because really those two answers are connected to mission. Think about this. I feel like I'm missing out on my calling. Well, what is your mission in life? Where are you going in life? And that many of you out there feel this way. Does this resonate with you? If this is resonating with you, I wish I had a chat right here on the screen where we could just interact like right now, because this is the problem we're trying to help people solve. We're trying to help them take that step. We're trying to help them break down that wall. That's what I want to give you. I want to give you freedom. So I want you to know that you can do this. You can do what I do. I've worked in IT for 25 years, started in a very small school, started with no formal education, just a desire to learn, to get things done. I knew how to look things up on the internet, and that was basically it. And these were in the days of Yahoo. No Chat GPT, no Google, right? It was Yahoo and maybe a couple other search engines. Wow. I think maybe Ask Jeeves was around then. Okay. So this is going back. 1998 is when I started in tech in a school. And I did a little bit before that. Sometimes I say, I've worked 27 years in IT, and that's because I did some contract work before that. But really my real first gig was 25 years ago. And things have changed a lot. But listen, that same thing applies. If you've got grit, if you've got willpower, if you want to learn, if you want to take a step forward, that is what you need. And that is how you get moving. So I hope that resonates with you. So if you feel like you're missing out on your calling, and or people have told you that you might be good at IT, and you're trying to figure that out, this is mission. This is mission-minded stuff. And how do we get you moving from this point? Because if you feel like you're missing out on your calling, then we're going to get into that. So we're going to focus on mission and passion. Now, I know that answers 2 and 3. I feel like I'm missing out on better income. I want to work from home and have more freedom. Look, I get it. I get it. But if you focus on your passion and you focus on your mission, the money's going to follow. Because when you're passionate about it, you're going to become contagious about it, and that's going to catch on like wildfire. So it takes time. It takes time. It does none of this stuff happens like snap of a finger. So let's focus on mission. So what resonates with you? Oh, I gotta share this with you. So I had it was my birthday last week, and my mom sent me a nice. It's awesome. She sent me this letter to tell me about stories as a kid and things that she remembered. I'm probably going to get emotional. I love this, but there's two things. Let me see if I can find. Okay, here we are. There's two things on here that went all the way back to my childhood. Um, I think there's purpose that goes beyond the dollar. I'm sure of it. Because we're wired in a certain way. Now, I know some people are going to say, well, that just happened by accident. We evolved to be that way. I don't personally take that stance. I think God planted it in me. I think God planted a passion for tech in my heart, in my soul, knowing that I was going to be born at the time I was born and doing the things that I do right now that I love. I really think that's true. And so here's two things from my childhood that I thought were really interesting. My mom says, you loved my Swiss chalet music box. Before long, you fixed it so we couldn't make it work, but you could by putting your little fingers in something inside, and the music would play. Your dad and I could never figure out how you did it. Okay, so I obviously had a mechanical mind. Even as a child, I was already experimenting with mechanics. So I don't know how old I was, maybe 5, less than that. Actually, I think it says here that I was 4. So at 4 years old, I'm figuring out how to just work mechanical things. And I remember there was a little music player on a rocking chair, and it had the little music box was, kind of like screwed onto the back of the rocking chair. So when you're rocking, it would play music, and when you stopped, it would stop. Well, the thing stopped working, and I remember being really young and fixing that. So that was one thing that she had said here. And then another thing that I had no idea about, but absolutely makes sense now that I look back on my life. And this is getting somewhere, because I think these things are planted in us like an investment that's supposed to grow, like a deposit that's supposed to grow over time. So here's the next one. 5 years old. My mom says that's the magic year. I don't know what she means by that, but here's what she said. It didn't take long for you to figure out puzzles. I loved Lincoln Logs and Legos and Matchbox cars. But it was puzzles. I would do them over and over and over again, and I was doing them very, very quickly. I'm kind of just summarizing what she said here. But the puzzles, they kept giving me harder and harder puzzles as a kid. And I just kept solving them. I loved puzzles, like the little finger puzzles that you move around that's got the numbers on them. I love those. I remember some with pictures on. Now that, when my mom sent me that, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I totally forgot about puzzles. They had little pictures on them and all sorts of things to different ways to solve them. Rubik's cubes. I love Rubik's cubes. I did look up how to some formulas, by the way. I have a friend who likes to solve them too, but sometimes I just like to mess around with a Rubik's cube and play with the colors and where they're at. So as a child, there was a mission in me. There was something that I was passionate about as a child. Let me ask you, for you, what is that? What goes all the way back? How are you wired? Where does that passion come from? It comes from something. Maybe you were exposed to photography as a teenager and you're like, oh man, I just love photography. Man, I love photography. Photography to me is so much fun. I would love to just be outside for hours with the camera taking pictures. I love it. Riding a bike. I love to ride a road bike. Now, I'm not in an area right now where that's practical. So there's a spin bike. I love to run. I love to do things outside. I love to hike. All of these things come from something inside me. So that mechanical mind, the puzzles, I would say now that that was a deposit that God had in my life. I would say that that was an investment that he made in me. That's who I am. And there's rewards to be reaped from that investment. I would say do not ignore what that investment is in you, whether you believe it's accidental or not. If you say, well, I don't believe in God. Okay. You can't deny that there's certain things that resonate in you that you like to do. You just can't, because everybody's got certain interests. Everybody likes certain things. Everybody enjoys certain foods. It's just a fact of life that we're different. So there's something different about you that you like to do. Why don't you focus on that? Okay. Now think about this. There is a fear of people about imposter syndrome. Well, what if I switch careers and I'm deemed to be an imposter? If I get into IT, people might find me to be a fake. Okay. This feeling is never going to magically disappear. Let me tell you that. Because even in 25 years with what I do, every once in a while, there's a time when I'm talking to somebody, maybe on the phone or whatever, and I think, well, that person's just way smarter than me. I'm just a fake. I'm a fraud. I'm a fraud. I've been working in tech for 25 years, and man, I've got the wool pulled over their eyes. That doesn't magically disappear, but I do want you to think about this a different way. If there is a God, or whatever your passion is, whatever, if there is something special in you, if you are ignoring that, not pursuing it, then you are the imposter. It's in that situation that you are the imposter, not if you're actually trying to do it. So if you're interested in IT and you're worried about, well, maybe I'll be an imposter. Well, guess what? You're an imposter right now by not pursuing the thing that's passionate in you. You're actually being a fraud right now. You're actually being a hypocrite by not pursuing what you feel like you should pursue. So flip it around. Where's the imposter syndrome come from? Are you actually, and look, guys, this is going to be a rabbit trail of a lot of different things in here. We're going to get down to mission. But are you actually an imposter in your current workplace because you are ignoring the nugget that is in you? There's a nugget maybe in you that's screaming to make a course correction. Do you guys remember the old GPSs, like Garmin and all of them in the cars and on your phones? Or I guess that I'm thinking more of the lines of the ones that were the handheld ones, or the ones in your car, that when you missed a turn or whatever, it would just continue to say, make a U-turn, make a U-turn, make a U-turn. Well, it's like, what is your destination? What is your destination? And is in your heart? Does that resonate with you? You know what I mean? In your heart, do you hear, make a U-turn, make a turn, get off the next exit? And maybe you're ignoring it because, well, I feel like my career destination is this, and I can't change now, so I'm locked in, and this isn't really where my heart's telling me to go. I'm just going to ignore my heart's GPS. I'm just going to keep on going, even though it's saying make a U-turn. This isn't right. Something is wrong with the situation. Something is not working out. So if your destination is motivated by money, let me tell you what, it's not going to satisfy you. This is really preachy, guys. I'm sorry. Money is not going to satisfy you. Actually, I'm not sorry. Because if you really want to make a change, we want to get connected. We're speaking to you. You people out there that want to make a change, that you're thinking, I can't do this. I need to make the next step, but it's too hard, or whatever it is. I'm too old. Shut out the lies and keep tuned in. You're going to be tempted today to press stop because this is going to be too hard for you. I hope that you do not press stop on the podcast. Keep listening, knuckle down, and get through this episode. This could be transformational for you. Today could be the day that you make a very significant course correction. I'm going to tell you a story about me. I also wanted to tell you, if your destination is simply easy living, guess what? That's an illusion too, right? There's no just like pie in the sky life. We all have bills to pay. We all have things that we're doing, and there's commitments we have to make. It's just part of life. So if you're thinking I'm just going to have this pie in the sky life, if I could just make so much money, then everything's going to be easier. And that's a lie. It's just an illusion, because you're going to get there to that point, and guess what? It's not going to satisfy you anymore. You're going to be looking for a next point and a next point and a next point, and you're going to gradually just run out of points. So here's a story from me. I was working, and have you ever felt when you got in your car, you just felt this lump in your chest because I got to go to work. I really don't like what I'm doing. And I just can't wait to get to the weekend. The weekend comes, Friday comes, and honestly, is all you're thinking about is Monday. I got to go back and I have to repeat this cycle all over again. I know that there's some of you out there that are in that same boat. If that resonates with you, does that connect? So, story from me. I got to a place working in IT in school, in a school system, a K to 12 school. I was IT director. I got myself to the place where I was just at the top again, and looking for the next hit, because it's like you become dissatisfied with where you're at, and you kind of lose focus, and you just, what's out there. Career path wise, what would make sense, and many people told me this, hey, you should think about getting into security, and maybe even into become an auditor, certified information systems auditor, CISA, and get my CISP, certified information systems security practitioner. I'm pretty sure that's what it stands for. Get a CISP, and get a fulfilling career that way. So I transitioned. I went from IT in a school system, which was actually pretty low stress at the time, and I accepted a role as a project manager, working up into a auditor role with a managed service provider, an MSP. That's one of those companies that helps a lot of other businesses with their IT stuff. So I was like, oh, great. This is great. I'm going to have this fulfilling career. I'm going to be making more money. I'm going to have a new track ahead of me. I've got a whole nother chain of command I can go up, and this is going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to do this. So I started, and every day got worse. Every day I was more and more stressed out. The first day I got in there to that job as a project manager, they dropped 127 projects on my lap. Every one of them, some sort of auditing project with deliverables that we had to complete, reports and different things. 127 to manage, and more being added all the time. And I'm like, wow, gosh, this is impossible. Who can do this? 127. How am I going to manage 127 projects? So I started to apply some of the best practices that I had learned in recent years, which are proven, good, known, awesome practices, visualizing work and different things to make sure that we didn't drop the ball. Because oftentimes in the mornings, we would be on a call and we'd be talking about a deliverable that was due that week, and everybody was crunching to try and get it done. And I was like, this is ridiculous. This doesn't work this way. You can't be effective. I hated going to work day after day after day. So I thought, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to clean up the whiteboard in our office, and I'm going to make all of our work visual. So that's what I did. I took some sticky notes and some, just dry erase, and I put some tasks on the board. I drew out some timelines for the 5 projects coming up the fastest, and then had other timelines that I was working on. And one of the team members comes in and looks at the board and says, "What the crap is this?" I'm like, this was in a toxic environment. Like, these people actually don't want organized work. They want to continue to work in the chaos. So it got worse. Do you ever associate stress? Do you know what I mean by associating stress with something you have or something you do? I had a little Mazda 3. It was a great car. It was a six-speed manual. Loved that car. And I honestly started to associate my stress with getting in that vehicle. Whenever I got into that vehicle, didn't matter if I was going to work or if I was going somewhere else, lump in the chest. Because now I'm taking my stress and I'm bringing it into other things in my life. Could I have continued with that MSP and made some great money? Oh, absolutely, could have. Would my health have suffered because of that? I think you guys know the answer to that question. So what is your mission? Is IT in your future? Do you think about tech? Do you long for tech? Do you want to move in that direction? So I will tell you this. Look, we've got an assessment on the website. I'm going to take a break in just a second, but I want to tell you this, and then we're going to take a break. We have an IT assessment on the website, itpath.net. Go there, fill out the assessment. This is going to help give you some clarity into some of your personal skills, as well as where you align technologically, like what your interests are. This is free of charge. It's totally free. You are going to be on a mailing list. You can just hit opt out. You can just unsubscribe or whatever when you get the emails. That's fine. It's about trying to help you. So this assessment is very detailed and can help give you some first steps, some first recommendations. Go to itpath.net and take that survey and get going on your IT path. We're going to come back. When we come back, we're going to talk more about mission and trying to figure all this stuff out. And we'll be back in just a moment. Okay, so listen to some problems here. Change is hard. I know that's obvious, right? We all know that. Change is hard. It's hard to do something different. Here's another problem. People just expect me to continue doing what I do. That could be your workplace. It could be family. It could be friends. People just expect us to just continue on this wheel that never changes. Never changes. Oh, I wish I could get off this wheel. I can't. I have to keep doing this. Well, no, you don't have to. That's the thing. So another problem. This is just the way my career path works. If I want to move up the chain, I just have to live with all of this stress. Well, I think that's a lie too. I don't want to pass on the money I make right now. Changing careers is hard. Sometimes you have to step down in order to start moving back up again. Man, I get it. It is hard. There's no question. So we've got this what is next thought kind of floating around in our brains. So for me, I thought it was going to be working as in security as an auditor, and that ended up leading me to more stress. So your workplace cannot replace your health. I was on track to destroy my health, my day-to-day job, loathing my work, feeling stressed out. What people expect from me will not bring me any closer to my passion. Just because other people expect it, that doesn't connect me with my passion. Another question, whose life am I living? Am I living my boss's life, my friend's life? So if I was going to give you money for the most stressful job in the world, then let's say it's the most stressful job in the universe. That sounds bigger. And I said, well, I'm going to give you the most stressful job in the universe. And guess what? I'm going to pay you $50,000 a year. People are like, that's ridiculous. I'm not going to take on the most stressful job for 50K. I'm going to give you the most stressful job in the universe for 100K. What would you say to that? 150K, 200K, 250K. What about I'm going to give you the most stressful job in the universe for $1 million a year? So think about stress like miles on a car. Forget the money. Let's just think about stress like miles on a car. The higher the miles, the more the maintenance. My wife and I have a '05 Sienna, which apparently is not a great year. And that car is costing us more and more and more to keep on the road every year. We're trying to make it last through September because I think that's next time our insurance or our inspection is due. We're trying to make it, we're trying to eke it out to September, but it costs us more and more. Stress is like high miles. It's like accelerating the miles on your vehicle. Stress is like accelerating the miles on your body. Think about that. Except what's really interesting here is that you can go out and buy a new car. You can't buy a new you. When you're wore out, you're beat up, and your health is deteriorated because you've been on the wrong path and you've lived with the stress and you've made yourself eke out day after day to try and get to some point, which is retirement. Let's say that's equivalent to the September, right, of our car. We just want to make our car last to September before we have to replace it. Well, you've got some timeline that you're also thinking about too, right? So you might be thinking about, oh, and just make it to retirement. Problem is, working on your body is a lot more expensive than working on a car. Your body, like if you get heart problems, you get stress problems, you're going to end up with issues that are going to be very expensive to try and resolve. Some of them, a lot of them aren't going to be resolvable at all. So think about that. Think about that stress. I don't think there's any intention from God for us to live with stress. As a matter of fact, Jesus says, let all your cast off our anxiety. So health, stress, these are big glaring issues. So that money question I asked you, so you would be willing maybe to trade for $1 million. You'd be willing to trade out part of your life, part of your enjoyment, part of the time that you get with your family for basically a piece of paper. That's all money is, right? It's just printed paper that's got some value on it. We have identified our value to that instead of our passions. Man, that is just a shame. Now, good news is passion can't be purchased. It is given. It's like an investment in us, right? That was something that we long to do. I hope you get that. And it can be used to serve people. And when we connect our passion to service, guess what? It is valuable, like monetarily valuable. I mean, like it's valuable in way bigger ways than that. But probably the smallest way is through money, that people compensate us for services that are driven by our passions. That's a way better way to be paid. Guess what? Passion is contagious. I mentioned this before. Guess what also is contagious? Anxiety, fear, stress. When I was working at that MSP, I'd come home and day after day, I was unloading on my wife. I didn't realize it. We're going out on walks. And am I mentally present in the conversation, in the moment, in the time with her, spending time with her? No, I'm too busy cycling through my problems at work and think about how am I going to get through the next day. I'd get from Monday, work my way to Friday, thinking that somehow magically on Friday I was going to feel better about my workplace. I get to Friday and I'm checked out on the weekend, because mentally checked out on the weekend, because it's all I'm thinking about is Monday's coming and I'm going to have to go do this all over again. And that's why I only was there for 2 months. And I think 2 months was too long. So, who do you know that has passion? Man, I really wish I was like so and so because they love their job. They love their work. They're passionate about their workplace. Isn't it great to be around people like that? Don't you feel like refreshed when somebody just loves what they do? Man, I love tech. I get to do this every day. I get to help the business, get to align to business goals and objectives. It's like that is what I'm born to do. There's something in me that says, go do that. And it's so much fun. But when I was stressed out in my audit role, my family felt it day after day after day. Do you know what I mean? Is that where you're at? Um, yeah, what we do and how what we do is just massively affects like the stress and everything massively affects those around us. We don't even get a clue to that because we're so caught up in our, it's like we can't see past this wall of stress. And actually it's cortisol that's released in the brain that prevents you from actually making logical decisions. You can't make logical decisions while you're all stressed out. All right, let's talk action. Let's get down to the action. This is where the rubber meets the road here today. You got a notepad. Start by this. Write down all the things that you love to do. Connect with that passion. What do you love to do? Take a moment, write those things down. For me, I would write down things like photography, running, biking, experimenting with electronics. Man, I love electronics. I love to serve people. I love to talk passionately about tech and help other people. That's why I do this podcast. Look, I'm not making any money right now. This is like nobody in the community yet. I've got the whole infrastructure built. We're ready to roll. But I'm here because I'm dedicated to this. I'm dedicated to this cause to helping people get unlocked and moving forward. I'm passionate about this. I want to share that passion. I love to do this. I love to talk to you. So I'm passionate about those things. Write them down. What gives you energy? Write down what gives you energy. Also, write down what sucks energy out of you. What are those things that happen in the workplace when you can be on cloud nine? Nothing is going to ruin my day except somebody says one thing happens and it dominoes. And then all of a sudden you're dragged down and you've like went from cloud nine to like ground zero in like a minute. And this mental cycle starts. The cortisol starts to build up in your brain. You can't think straight. You're all locked up. So what are the things that suck the energy out of you? I can tell you one for me, and that is unplanned interruptions. Obviously, they're unplanned. Nobody plans to be interrupted. I don't think. Hey, at 5:00, you can feel free to come interrupt me in my office. Interruptions that break my workflow. I have a really hard time with context switching, and that's something that can really suck the energy out of me. I get deep into an issue, solving a problem, and then all of a sudden, it's like it's all spiraled out of control, and I can't think. Write down what you would like to be doing in the next year, 2, 3 years from now. Where do you want to be? Do you still want to be in that rat race, that cycle, on that hamster wheel, stressed out day after day? Or do you want to get unlocked and move forward? So mission-wise, write this statement down. I believe, so those were, by the way, those were 4 things to write down. Write down the things you love. Write down the things that give you energy. Write down the things that suck energy out of you. And write down what you want to be doing in the next year, 2 or 3 years. Where do you think that passion is? Write this down. My mission. I believe my mission for work, and we're talking about work here, okay? So I believe my mission for work revolves around blank. Would your wife, would your spouse agree? Would your kids also agree? Do your friends also see it? Are you probably the people that you really trust can probably also see these kinds of trends in your life, and they know when you're stressed out about work? You might not know that they know, but they know. Is it an IT or tech related field? You know, in our brain, we have these warning systems. Think about the eye. The eye is crazy good. The eye has a reflex faster than the signal time to your brain to tell your eye to blink. It's got a self-preservation mechanism in it. If something is flying at your eye, this has probably happened to you, immediately you close your eye and then you're processing, oh, what was that? It's like this acts first, then your brain acts, right? Your eye acts first, and then your brain says, oh, wait a second. What was that? Piece of dirt. You've been mowing or weed eating and you don't have safety glasses on, or maybe you do have safety glasses on, but something starts flying toward your eye. And before that 10th of a second reaction time that it takes your eye to talk to your eye has actually already reacted and done something about it. It's closed itself. Self-preservation. That's pretty crazy. So when you think about reflexes and you think about the warning signs, so think about all of these systems that we have in our brain for warning. This is going to tie back in just a moment. There's a boredom warning in our brain. You know, we got these devices. Here it is. So we got these devices. We carry them around in our pockets, and they just suck time out of us. They kind of like remove the warning symbol, the warning signal from boredom. And then all of a sudden we realize when we've been on them for long periods of time, wait a second, I've just spent an hour. I've just spent 90 minutes, 30 minutes, 15, whatever it was that you wasted. And the warning signal got overridden because of the way the device is created. It's addictive. So it overrode the warning system. But normally in the past, if you were bored as a kid, there was a warning signal. I keep saying symbol, warning signal in your head that said, get up and do something, go do something different. And that's what you did. I'm bored. There's something wrong when your kids are saying, I'm bored. Man, get them plugged into something where their passion lies. Get them outside playing, doing something. Have some friends over, right? That's what we do. So we have that warning signal. So we got this danger of these phones that eat up our one of those signals. But we also have flags about people. You guys know what I'm talking about when I say that we have warning flags about people. There's certain people we want to avoid. And I'll tell you, I had a friend that when I got together this person, he sucked the energy out of me. And eventually I realized, oh my goodness, this person's narcissistic. And they're just sucking the life out of me into their world, into their problems. Everything's all about them. And there's a red flag that goes up in our heads that says there's something wrong about it. And actually, I'll tell you, I didn't even realize it with that person. Actually, I had warning flags and I kept putting them down. I kept forcing them down because I was thinking, no, the person just needs some, some more encouragement or whatever. And then somebody called me out on it. I had a friend who came up to me and said, Dana, you realize what's going on here? And I was like, oh my goodness, absolutely. And then the eyes were opened and I was like, yes, all of these warning signals, these flags in my head, these red flags that said, be careful, tread lightly. Those were going off and I had ignored them. So it's like hazardous waste. So I'm not being fulfilled in my work. Warning flag. What are you doing with it? Are you just going to ignore it? Are you going to let it suck the life out of you? Is it going to suck the life out of your career potential? Is it going to suck the life through stress out of your family? Man, right now, this is it. This is the moment in time. Guess what? You're here and listening to this now. You did not stop this episode. And I hope that you get connected with your passion, with your mission in life. Let all of this sink in. What do you need to do right now? Look, You just need to slow down and listen. Listen to your inner voice that is telling you what your passion is and what you were made to do and give you direction. If that is IT at itpath.net, we would love to help you. Quite honestly, you could be listening to this episode where we're still at 0 members. You could be the first member at ITpath. Guess what? If you are, I'm going to be dedicating some resources to you, man. I'm going to dedicate some resources to you. I feel your pain and I've been where you're at. So you got somebody that can listen. You got somebody that can encourage you to help you take your first steps, to help you walk through that assessment and figure out where your path might lie and what training options you might have. You have to reduce the noise. Stick your phone on do not disturb or leave it at the house and take a walk and listen. If you're out on a walk right now, why don't you just turn off your phone and listen and think clearly about what your next steps are. If you're listening to this, I'm talking to you because probably a lot of people didn't make it this far. This is heavy stuff. I got really preachy today, and a lot of people probably haven't made it to the end of the episode. I'm okay with that, by the way. So if you're hearing my voice right now, I am speaking to you. We would love to have you. I would love to have you come into ITpath. Let me help you get on this path and move forward. My name's Dana Morrison. Thank you again for being here with ITpath. This is heavy stuff today. Go to itpath.net, get that assessment done, figure out what some training options are for you. If you're not on the mailing list, that's going to put you on the mailing list. There will be an email come through. By the way, you can respond to those. I do see those emails, so it'll send an email back to me in a inbox that's dedicated to the mailing list. I will see it. Please respond. I want to hear from you. Thank you, guys. Enjoy the journey. Claim it. Take a first step. It's hard, but so worth it. We'll see you.